The first sign was the silence. Not the comfortable kind, not the respectful hush of a formal chamber, but the kind that crept in when conversations died mid-sentence, when eyes lingered too long, when something unspoken pressed against the air like a held breath. Lieutenant Daniel Reyes noticed it the moment he stepped into the observation gallery of the Litharian Grand Spire. A dozen alien nobles stood scattered across the vast chamber, their luminous robes and iridescent crests catching the starlight pouring through the transparent ceiling. Normally, his presence as a human military liaison barely earned a glance. Humans were curiosities here, useful, adaptable, loud, but never central. Today, every gaze turned toward him. Daniel shifted uncomfortably, adjusting the collar of his uniform. Did I miss a memo?" No one answered. Instead, the nobles parted slowly, creating a clear path through the chamber, one that led directly to the elevated dais at the far end, where Princess Valeth stood. She was unmistakable. Tall even by Litharian standards, her silver-blue skin glowed softly under the starlight. Delicate bioluminescent patterns traced along her arms and neck, betraying emotions her species struggled to suppress. Her crest, normally a calm, pale hue, flickered with restless shades of violet. Nervousness. That alone set Daniel's instincts screaming. Princess Valeth never looked nervous. She was the heir to the Litharian Star Dominion, a civilization older than humanity's written history. Strategist, diplomat, and, according to classified briefings, one of the sharpest political minds in the quadrant. And she was staring at him like the universe had narrowed to a single point. "Lieutenant Reyes," she said, her voice smooth but strained. "Please, approach." Every rational part of Daniel's brain told him this was a bad idea. But you don't refuse a princess in her own spire. He walked forward, boots echoing against the crystalline floor. As he stopped before the dais, he noticed something else. Something subtle but unmistakable. Her bioluminescent markings were brighter now. Too bright. "Your Highness," Daniel said carefully, offering a respectful bow. "You requested my presence?" "Yes," Valeth replied. She hesitated, a rare, dangerous thing for someone of her status. "I did." The silence deepened. Daniel became acutely aware of how many people were watching. Not just nobles, guards, attendants, advisors. This wasn't a private meeting. This was deliberate. "You have served as a human liaison within our capital for 3 cycles, Valeth continued. "You have advised our military councils, assisted in joint operations and on more than one occasion, saved Litharian lives." Daniel shrugged faintly. "Just doing my job." "That," Valeth said softly, "is precisely the problem." A ripple of confusion moved through the crowd. Daniel frowned. "I'm sorry." For a long moment Valeth said nothing. Her eyes, large, luminous, and unsettlingly expressive, searched his face as if weighing a decision she could no longer postpone. Finally she exhaled. "In Litharian culture," she said, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber, "emotional restraint is considered a virtue of leadership. Desire clouds judgment. Attachment creates vulnerability." Several nobles nodded solemnly. "I have adhered to this principle my entire life," she went on. "Even when it was difficult." Daniel felt an uncomfortable heat creep up his neck. Where was this going? "And yet," Valeth said, her crest pulsing now with vivid color, "there comes a point when denial becomes more dangerous than truth." A murmur spread through the gallery. She descended from the dais, each step measured, controlled, until she stood directly before him. Close enough that Daniel could feel the faint warmth radiating from her skin. "Lieutenant Daniel Reyes," she said quietly, "I can no longer hide my feelings." The chamber exploded into chaos. Voices rose in alarm, shock, disbelief. Advisors shouted in Litharian dialects Daniel's translator struggled to keep up with. Guards stiffened, hands hovering near their weapons, not in threat but in sheer uncertainty. Daniel's brain short-circuited. Your Highness, he began, then stopped. There were about 100 things he could say, and every single one felt catastrophically wrong. Vayleth raised her hand. The noise ceased instantly. I am aware of the consequences, she said firmly. I am aware of the scandal this will cause, the political upheaval, the challenges it will invite. I have calculated them all. Her gaze softened as she looked back at Daniel. And I have decided they are worth it. The High Counselor, an elder Litharian with a crest dulled by age, stepped forward. Princess, this is highly irregular. A human is not inferior, Vayleth snapped, startling everyone. Nor is he ignorant of sacrifice. Daniel swallowed hard. She turned back to the council. Lieutenant Reyes has faced annihilation alongside our forces. He has stood his ground when retreat was easier. He has spoken truth to me when flattery would have benefited him. Her voice dropped. He treats me not as an icon, but as a person. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Counselor eyes narrowed. And what is it you are declaring, Your Highness? Vayleth did not hesitate. I want him. Not as an advisor. Not as an ally. As something far more dangerous. Daniel felt the room tilt. He opened his mouth, finally finding his voice. Vayleth, Your Highness, I didn't know you felt. I know, she said softly. That is why I am speaking now. She turned to the assembly once more. Under Dominion law, I invoke the right of open intent. Gasps echoed across the chamber. Daniel's stomach dropped. He'd read about that law, an ancient provision allowing a royal to openly pursue a bond outside political arrangements. It hadn't been used in centuries. You can't just, the counselor began. I can, Vayleth replied calmly. And I have. All eyes shifted back to Daniel. The weight of an empire pressed down on him. Lieutenant Reyes, the counselor said slowly, this declaration does not bind you. But understand, if you reject her publicly, the repercussions will be severe. Daniel looked at Vayleth. At the controlled posture, the barely restrained glow of her markings, the vulnerability she had chosen to reveal before the entire Dominion. He was risking everything. For him. I never wanted this to become a spectacle, Daniel said quietly. And I won't pretend I understand all of your customs. He took a breath. But I do know what it means to stand alone because of how you feel. He met her eyes. And I won't humiliate you for your honesty. A wave of tension eased through her posture. I won't give you an answer today, he continued. Not because I don't care, but because something this big deserves time. Thought. Respect. The council erupted again, but Vayleth only smiled. A very human response, she said warmly. And one I accept. In the days that followed, the Dominion buzzed with speculation. Some nobles were furious. Others intrigued. Many watched Daniel closely now, not as a curiosity but as a variable. Vayleth did not press him. Instead, she invited him to walk the starlit gardens. To observe nebulae from the spire's highest platforms. To talk not as princess and soldier but as two beings shaped by duty. I was trained to suppress desire, she admitted one night, bioluminescence flickering gently as they stood overlooking a spiral galaxy. But humans, you embrace it. Even when it hurts. Daniel smiled faintly. We're not very good at hiding who we are. That, she said, is what drew me to you. When the council reconvened weeks later, the air felt different. Daniel stood beside Vayleth, not behind her. Have you reached a decision? The High Counselor asked him. Daniel took a breath. Yes. He turned to Vayleth. I don't know where this leads. I don't know what kind of future it creates. He smiled slightly. But I know I don't want to walk away from it. Vayleth's glow flared, brilliant, undeniable. The council did not cheer. They did not chant. But they bowed. Because for the first time in generations their future had changed. Not through conquest or strategy. but through a truth that could no longer be hidden.